So let me get this out of the way right away. Yes, this is a sponsored video, but to be honest, I actually thought that I was going to be tasked with talking about gameplay experience and like kind of the ins and outs of the experience, like what goes into playing Duet Night Abyss. But actually, what I actually got was an amazing musical experience that was supremely unexpected. Take a listen for yourself. Like, that's really good. That song highlights the like desire to push through adversity. That song expresses this feeling of like, you know, having a great deal of suffering happening within your life. But then as the natural crescendo occurs throughout that 1 minute and 42 seconds of listening to that, we have this like feeling of wanting to grow past it, especially with the way that the cello represents this sort of like being broken on the ground. Being broken and being on the ground. And then as we grow into the piano with the other violins in this sort of string quartet, what we actually get is like rising above that feeling. And I love this trope in video games music and in video game music in general, this feeling of like overcoming adversity and how composers can express those desires in their own individual ways. This is a broken, bleak, washed out world with very little hope. And yet people learn to live in it despite all of that, which is actually like a trope, having played a little bit of this game in the closed beta number 2, how that world expands within itself and manages to still exist with glimmers of hope and possibility, seeking things out, choosing to believe in possibility, even though it's very, very, very broken. You know, it's funny because I was going to check out Duet Night Abyss anyway. I mean, the gacha's unbelievably generous because there's no 50-50 until the second pull. So like your first get is 100% guaranteed. There's 100% weapon banner rate. That reason alone, plus I saw glimmers of the combat and I was like, okay, this looks fun. And in fact, the CBT2 has been very enjoyable. And beyond that, I mean, like the musical variety here is really interesting because it's all like sweeping orchestral suites, beautiful vocals. Like, listen to this track, okay? Like you can't help but listen to that and feel like, you know, it's composed from a place of like, damn, you know, what is my life? How do I grow? How do I accept this terrible situation? How do I rise up against this adversity? The vocals completely raw, lots of breath in the sound, ah vowel, very exposed, coupled with that gorgeous lower piano. And maybe I'm just a sucker for piano, but that lower chord of the piano just sustaining us in this state of decay, of again, brokenness, much like the main theme. But then you also get like really nice pieces like this. This is Psyche's theme. It's done with a guitar. Listen to this. Like, that's lovely. This is so warm, so I mean, like, the thing is, like, Psyche is like a gentle character. You know, she takes us under her wing. She helps us. She supports us. And you hear that kind of support. You know, what's interesting is that in that theme, even though we still get that sense of, like, kind of melancholic, like, melancholic moroseness, we still, in the guitar, because the melody's in the upper register, we still get this sense of warmth, of like protection, of like, hey, I got you. I'm gonna look out for you. You know, like, that's crazy. I mean, this is like barely even scratching the surface. Like, I tell you, I went into this completely neutral. I was like, okay, this is cool. I was gonna check this out. How is this going to play out? What kind of music are we getting? We're not getting your standard EDM. We're getting like pure big orchestral writing. And we get these intimate pieces that are gentle. Here's another example of something that's like very special and very cool. This is Arcane Ruins Temple. Listen to this. Like, that's freaking pretty. And no matter what, I mean, at the end of the day, like, this style of singing, this style of composition that's based on a very simple instrumental backing, in this case an arpeggiated harp with some strings, like, this stuff just lands. And the sort of language that we don't understand, singing thing that happens, you know, that we've had now in other games is like, so I think can never really be overdone. I think that this provides a real like innocence to it. There's this melancholic piece that kind of pervades this kind of style, light soprano with lyrics that you don't understand because they're not like a specific language, like they're a language but not a language you know, or it's just different enough where you're wondering what it is, so it actually makes you pay attention. I mean, it's genius. And in reality, I mean, just for the record, like, creating songs out of languages that we don't know is actually a boon to the games that use this, because if we attach the lyrics based on real language and real words, we invariably are told what to feel. Whereas in this particular instance, when we listen to something like this, because it's like close enough, we can sort of approximate a general language attachment of words and meaning. Because we can't really do that because we don't know what's actually being said, we actually instinctively use our emotional subconscious in order to derive meaning from the words. That was a lot of word salad, but essentially what I mean is that this becomes ours because it doesn't matter what's being said. What matters is how it makes us feel. And that's why this is really impactful. Now, not everything is sad in the game. Obviously, there's epic stuff, there's exciting stuff, but Outsider's Home is really cool. Listen to this. So playful. Like, again, another fairly simple track, but I think what really sticks out to me is the fact that we're using orchestral music. All of Duet Night Abyss's music tends to be this way, or the stuff that I've heard, both in the CBT2, but also just in my own experience, just listening to some of the soundtrack. What I find really interesting about this particular approach to music is the fact that we're leaning into some of the classical tropes. I mean, the woodwinds here are very playful. There's a bouncing quality to them. You know, there's a play between the clarinet and the flute and the oboe that is really special and really specific to that like sonoral structure that I think works really, really well at producing emotional feelings. Like, well, feelings in general. Emotions are feelings, but anyway. There was something about this particular style that I think is nice to have in video games in general because it is able to directly get to the core without any like stuff. You know, EDM has electronic pulsation, punk and funk and acid jazz. Obviously those have instrumentation, of course, but they're different. I mean, a lot of times music can end up feeling like a vibe, whereas I find, maybe it's my own classical biases at play, but I find that classical music is more direct in letting a audience member know what they should be feeling. And that's ultimately music's goal, which is why you get the thing about people turning music off because they're like, well, I don't want to be told or indicated to how to feel. I want to feel it on my own, right? And so music like this is really cool because it allows us to, I think, better connect to ourselves while playing a game experience. And that's, I think, honestly, the thing that's got me excited about Duet Night Abyss the most. I definitely want to sit down and play it more because one of the things that's exciting is not only the characters, which all look really cool, but also like the way that the music is handled and the way that the storytelling kind of fuses and flows through the music and how the music helps that story along. I think it's integrated really well based on what I've seen in my own experience. And it's definitely a game to really keep an eye out if you're a music fan, which if you're watching this, you most certainly are. Honestly, I'm like blown away right now. If it's not on your radar, I kind of think it should be. Yes, the post is sponsored. Yes, the video is sponsored. But beyond that, I genuinely think that this is going to be a really cool musical experience. And I'm very excited for this game to launch, and I'm very excited to listen to this music for myself. There are other themes that just like, literally just like even a couple hours in, I was like, wow, like this is really expansive musically. And if you're like me and you love video game music, then maybe Duet Night Abyss might be worth checking out for yourself as well. Thanks a ton, and I'll see you later.